Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Ancient Mysteries Unearthed. I'm your host, Chris Noble, and today's guest is Marilyn Gewacke. She's a PhD and a clinical psychologist turned channeler whose work is in partnership with an interdimensional, or excuse me, an omnidimensional extraterrestrial being named ZaZar. And they offer profound cosmic wisdom for humanity's ascension. But not only that, together, Marilyn and ZaZar guide individuals through the consciousness shift, which we'll talk about today, heart-centered individuals, heart-centered living, and the soul evolution, helping to eliminate our greater mission on Earth and the cosmos, of course. She's also the author and a two-time award-winning author on her books that include The Oneness of Being and the ZaZar Transmissions. Of course, always in the links below, you can check out all of Marilyn's amazing work. And she's also the director of the Sanctuary for Evolutionary Vision, where she leads workshops and retreats devoted to awakening the new human and the magnificent light field within. So we've got so much to talk about today. So let's welcome to the show, Marilyn. Marilyn, welcome to Ancient Mysteries on Earth. How are you doing today?
Very good, very good. Excited.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just talking before we started to record of the crazy times that we're in, but of course, that also means the exciting times that we're in, because with all this, let's say, chaos going on, we're recording this in 2026 in the winter here, and there is so much happening. However, I see a lot of change and a lot of really amazing opportunity coming for us as well. Before we get into what we've got in store for us as a human race, I think moving forward, I would love to hear more about your background and how did you come to having a relationship or connection, this beautiful, beautiful connection with an omnidimensional being named ZaZar? Please bring us into this whole story here.
Well, I'd love to. I've been a psychologist all my life, and I knew when I mainly did a lot of trauma work, and I understood that just working with trauma or depression or diagnoses was a unidimensional approach, and that if the gifts and the light of a human being was not uncovered, it was going to be a long process of healing. So, even as a psychologist, I understood that as I began to delve into what was underneath the densities of living, that there was always a lighted one there ready to be birthed. And when that being was birthed, that human was birthed in the light, and the gifts came flooding out, that was really the real healing. And I have to say, I always knew humans had tremendous light that had been repressed. We've been living in separation dynamics for thousands of years from each other, from the galactics, from source. And it's been time now to change that. I think I knew this when I was little. I had this most amazing opportunity, and I think a lot of people have had this but don't remember. My actual human father took me on spacecraft where there was a huge university or school teaching craft where there was hundreds of human children, and I even got to visit with some galactic children. And on this craft we were taught how to utilize our consciousness and never forget how powerful our consciousness was and our heart was. And so we would sit in front of monitors and be able to project our consciousness to make art, to make music, and be telepathic, do remote viewing with other kids. To us, it was just a lot of fun. And the thing that was so amazing, Chris, on this craft was the unity community of the human children and the galactic children. Because when anybody discovered a gift or did this amazing art or music, everybody joined in. So when one child found out about an amazing gift they had, everybody, it was like a seed lit up in everybody else, and everybody started manifesting similar gifts. It was like lightning on the ship. I remember being in line to go back to my human self on Earth and thinking to myself, now I'm going to where my consciousness has to shrink back into a human consciousness. And that was really sad to me. But when I got back to Earth, pretty much I forgot about the experience just so I would stay sane. And later on in my life, I began having many, many memories of my father and him talking about the truth of extraterrestrials. Here, my father was the county attorney, very left brain, but for me, he was this far, far out human who taught me all about the galactics and would take me on ships. So that's been with me ever since. I think I learned how to see the truth of who we are as a human race and this time we are in. I now know I met ZaZar on that craft when I was little, but I went on to become a psychologist. It's not strange to me that I chose to study human behavior. And about 2008, I decided I wanted to make some reconnections to my galactic families out there. And I started doing contact work. In fact, I was at the dentist office and I was reading a contact protocol, sitting in the chair, and this music came over the speaker system, Chris. It was the most amazing, beautiful star music. Even the head dentist came running around the offices saying, "It sounds like a spacecraft landing." Well, the tech said, "I don't know why I'm saying this. Look at your phone." Back in the day, it was a flip phone. You couldn't send music. You couldn't send pictures. I flipped the phone up. Sure enough, the music was being projected on the speakers. No one to this day can tell me how that happened. There was a spaceship with hieroglyphics of some kind coming down in 2 columns. It happened 4 more times. Clearly, I was being called. Now I know it was ZaZar's ship. But at the time, I was just like, oh my God, this is so wild. Started doing contact. We started having contact groups, CE5s on our sanctuary. We've had craft 500 feet come right over our house. People have seen extraterrestrials walking about. So that really started my reconnection. And then 10 years ago, ZaZar came in clearly to me. At first, when I started channeling him, I thought, well, this is my higher self. And I have a really great higher self because the information was extraordinary. But then I started realizing this felt like a different energy, a different being, the information I couldn't claim anymore. And I started having a relationship with this entity, and it started becoming so familiar. And that's when ZaZar started telling me about who he was, why he was here, why I was channeling him, how I was prepared for this on the craft when I was little. And for 2 years, I was channeling him. Basically, we were in a classroom together so that I would be a clear conduit for him and for my own wisdom, that I would learn a lot about integrity and grace so that I could channel. And he always teases me, Chris, he says, I went from the mainstream to the cosmic stream. And I quit my practice as a psychologist. And that took a lot of courage to step into this channeling event that continued to this day. And his information after 2 years was so important. I said to him, I'm ready. We have to go public. And so many people have not heard even of channeling, let alone channeling a being. I know for absolute clarity that ZaZar, he's materialized in a room with me. He is a real being. He comes from such high dimensional places. He is here along with many other galactics to help us through this very hard time on Earth. But it's so exciting because the information he has to share is nothing but magnificent about who we are and how we're awakening as a human race. And so that's how I got to ZaZar. I can tell you this, Chris, since he's been with me, I have become a much kinder, a much more compassionate, loving human being. And for that, I will be eternally grateful to this beautiful being called ZaZar.
I love that, Marilyn. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it's a beautiful story and mind blowing. I mean, I feel like I just saw at least 4 or 5 movies that could come out of your experiences, right? I mean, it's so otherworldly, cinematic. These are the things that we think are is just fiction. Of course, it's not. And I would love to learn more about ZaZar in a moment, but what actually really piqued my curiosity was your father, your human birth father. What How was he connected? Like, how did he get you onto these crafts? I would love to know.
Well, listen, he and I would sit in the living room for half an hour to an hour. We wouldn't say a word to each other. We were telepathically communicating. I didn't know that was so strange, but my sisters would come in and say, "Why are you just staring at each other for a half an hour?" We would have all these communications with each other. I thought it was just normal. He would I grew up in Nebraska, so he would take me on drives, just he and I, and we'd go out to the cornfields and the old fields and the wheat fields, and craft would come. I mean, craft that I saw clear as a little girl than I've ever seen since then. 500 feet in the air, cigar shaped, saucer shaped. And he would say, and I could see windows, and he would say, "Now these craft are from other planets." And he would start to tell me. Those memories never left. I always knew. He would just say one thing: "Just don't tell your mommy we're talking about this." And so then a light, I would see a light he would walk me in a field, and there would be a light. And the next thing I knew, Chris, we were on a craft together. Once we got there, I never saw him again. Again, it was all children except for the teachers. Some of the teachers were galactic, many of them were human teachers. And then I never saw him even when I went back to Earth, except when I came back, there he was. And so apparently I might have been on the craft for hours, but only 5 minutes would pass. But I would see the craft, and I would see the lights coming down. How we actually got there, because I was there physically, I don't know the science there yet.
That's so cool, though. I love that. And what a unique, magical childhood, having a father to take you out to see the UFOs, you know?
Well, and
It's
Chris,
so
I
wild.
knew my father was very peculiar, very peculiar, and yet I knew most people didn't know this side of him, and it was something between us. Sometimes it is intergenerational, this contact with galactics. One of the reasons I finally decided I had to tell the story of being on a craft is because even in the telling of it, my hope is that other people will begin to hear this and realize and allow memories to surface of their own contact, because we hear so much 20 years ago about abductions and the kind of dark contact, but really I think many, many, many more humans, especially have as children, have had contact of the most amazing kind. I've met people who I knew were on the craft with me when I was a child, and my hope is that it will begin to help people realize the reality of this, the realities that there are galactics here as we speak, wanting to help the human race, that many of you have experienced experiences, perhaps in your dream states at night, and some of you have had galactic guardians since you were children. And the more we allow our memories to wake up and realize this is not crazy, it's just that we're opening to these new realities that will soon be more ordinary than extraordinary, even though when you have them, Chris, they're extraordinary.
Yeah, just a little bit, you know. I mean, it's real life turning into the science fiction movies we've been watching, and just taking out the fiction, and just now it's just science, and it's just normal. Now moving on to ZaZar, tell me more about ZaZar. For the listening audience right now, Marilyn's background has a beautiful portrait of ZaZar, and he is could you give me a bit more information on, like, I know he's an omnidimensional, very high dimensional, which physicality sometimes doesn't come through, but you have a beautiful painting, and I'd love to learn, like, who is he?
Okay, so the painting that's here, he steps down. He's a lot of the time in a light body, but he steps down into this body. When you're really evolved, apparently you can choose the genome that you want to come into a body. So he chose Pleiadian, Arcturian, and galactic elfin. Now, the galactic elfins we don't know a lot about, but we are going to know more and more now that ZaZar's here. They're very magical. They're very humorous. He's so wonderfully, well, he makes me laugh a lot, but he also is very magical. He's got the Arcturian and Pleiadian as well. So that makes it easier when he can step down into a body for me to apparently channel him when he's not in the body and he's more in light body. His energy is so powerful. I have felt it at times. But he's here. He also, because he's omnidimensional, is apparently teaching a very high classroom somewhere in the galaxy. It has to do with ascended masters, but I don't know entirely everything yet. I hope to at some point be evolved enough so that he might tell me more about what else he's up to. What's important is what he's up to on Earth. And so he comes through this body. I'll tell you, I knew what he looked like because I had seen him, but my team commissioned Vasta Narada to paint him, digitally paint him. Now, Vasta Narada is a European artist who has the capacity to travel interdimensionally to meet many of the guides, guardians, and galactics that work with humans now. She has so many beautiful digital paintings of the galactics. Well, they commissioned her to meet ZaZar. She met ZaZar, digitally painted him. I opened this up as a gift, and you can imagine I was so shocked that somebody else knew what he looked like to the T. And so this is ZaZar. Now, when you start working with ZaZar, Chris, he appears to so many people in our community. He's often with them, and it makes me so happy that he can do this and share his consciousness with others who are on the path of ascension and waking up.
And being omnidimensional is that allows him to have this capacity to be many different places at once, right?
Many different places at once. In one night, sometimes when we gather on Zooms, people will say, ZaZar showed up last night. ZaZar showed up last night. And I've often said to him, ZaZar, I don't need to know where you go at night because I have a feeling if I knew and my consciousness went with you, I wouldn't be rested the next day at all. But yes, he's able to be in many places at once. That's part of the evolvement that at some point even humans can look forward to.
This reminds me, Marilyn, of a lot of our ancients, ancient cultures. Behind my background here is always in Egypt. But of course, we've got many, many, many really evolved ancient civilizations. We talk about Lemuria, Atlantis, these things come up very much in conversation. And when we look into the distant past, I feel a lot of the times this is why I hated history in school, but then when I learned about our real history, I got obsessed with it because it's so fascinating. And I see, let's say, memories of us being at certain stages, let's say, to be able to have these more multidimensional experiences. What's your interpretation on our past? Because when I see ZaZar, he looks very familiar to some people that I see in the Vedic texts, as an example of ancient India. And so with our, were we constantly visited in the past? What do you think about that?
I think there's no question about it. And ZaZar may talk about this, but he's talking about building the 12th bridge. The 12th bridge is going to be the last bridge to a civilization on Earth that will last forever. There have been at least 11 ancient advanced civilizations and you bring up some, Lemuria, Atlantia, Egypt. These civilizations were all visited by galactics. ZaZar sometimes teases and says, how do you think the pyramids and Stonehenge and all of that was built? The galactics came and helped humans understand, for instance, how to use sound to levitate very heavy materials. So the galactics have been visiting these advanced ancient civilizations, sometimes working with them hand in hand. And so now those light codes from those ancient advanced civilizations, and many of the wise ones from those advanced civilizations understood this time on Earth where the Great Awakening would happen. There are light codes being released from those ancient civilizations, from the stones themselves, from the caves, from the writings in the caves, from deep within the earth with the crystals that were planted by the Atlanteans. So these light codes are all being released now. And the light codes from the galactics who worked with these human civilizations, they're bringing those codes back. Why? Because apparently, with the Great Awakening, with us in this time period of now, we are ready to decode the light codes from the advanced wisdom of the past with the galactics' advanced wisdom of now, so that we can become the co-creators of the future Earth.
Oh, I love that. I've felt it myself personally where, I get obsessed with like superhero movies. I don't know why I love them so much, but I think it's because we're seeing a part of ourselves that is in full realized version of ourselves. These powers, whether it be telepathy, levitation, flying, whatever it is, right? And it seems that we are coming back into this fully expressed version of the human. I mean, you were saying this in the beginning, Marilyn, how we've been under an oppressive division system, a system of duality that keeps us from this unity consciousness from for thousands of years, right? And so now that we're moving into this new earth and this new frequency and this new type of human being, I always think, are we becoming the guardians of the galaxy now? What do you feel our role is as we move into this new earth and to the new human?
Well, we're becoming the guardians of our Earth finally.
Ah, that's good.
First, we're becoming the guardians of our Earth. And then, because we apparently have some very interesting things called the heart. And the thing that I know galactics are surprised at is, of all the darkness and the densities that humans have gone through, our heart has survived. And it is our heart that still has compassion and love and the ability for kindness, and to know the difference between dark and light. And that is the heart and the soul complex. So I think once this is released and we understand we have to start leading with the heart, we will become the guardians of our own planet. When we do that, we will create a field of light, Chris, on our planet, where the guardians of the galaxy will be able to join us. People often say, why can't the galactics come now and help us? We're in a dire shape. Because we have to ourselves understand our magnificence, understand how to raise our light vibrational field, to co-create unity consciousness. And in that field of unity consciousness, Chris, it'll create a dimensional shift so that the galactics will actually be able to walk on Earth with us. And when that happens, Earth, it will look like Earth, so ZaZar says, it will look like Earth becomes a star. If you were to be way out in the galaxy, the light that will come out of Earth, both from Earth herself and from the humans on the Earth walking with the galactics, we will look like a star for a while. We will emanate so much light. It doesn't look like this is where we're at. Don't be fooled by the outside world, because there is an inside revolutional thing happened to so many people. We're traveling a lot now. ZaZar and I and our team, we're traveling a lot, and we're seeing all over the world, people are so ready for this. And they're so awakening with their own lighted gifts. This will not be stopped.
This is so exciting, Marilyn. I got goosebumps that whole time. Well, I've been getting goosebumps pretty much this whole podcast, to be honest. But that is so fascinating. I think at this point, if you feel comfortable, would be able to bring ZaZar in and have a conversation.
Let's do it.
Fantastic.
So I'm so happy to be here with you. Chris, it's so important to be here with you. I would like to pause a little bit later because I have to tell you some things. But for right now, what I wanted to say is Marilyn is so correct. This is an exciting time on earth, never before being seen. For it is indeed the great awakening. 2026 is going to be the year of manifestation of the light where the light from within. Humans have been cut off and separated from their beautiful soul heart light field. They have been starved for it. They seek it outside of themselves, but no longer will that be okay. As they begin to realize, as the light that is coming in from the galaxy is feeding and fueling this light within each human to turn on, for humans to realize. They hold a magnificent light field, but they have been separated from it. Why? Because you have been in survival mode. You have been in fear mode. You have been in separation. You look at each other skeptically. You wonder if you can trust and feel safe. Well, this is all changing as you begin to realize you no longer have to look to the outside world, but instead, this is an inner awakening, each individual awakening. And as the light rises, you will learn about light technology. What is that? It is the ability to realize that you are a vibrational being, not material only. Everything is frequency in the dance of the universe. That is why sound in music is so important, Chris. Everything is frequency, and humans are starting to realize their heart emits a frequency that goes out a long ways, their thoughts. Everything is vibrational, and you learn to raise your vibration. As the light is raised, Chris, as the vibration moves up, it opens these corridors that have previously been closed to the higher realities. You will come out of the third dimension and start moving into the fifth dimensional realities. There are so many realities, like the galactics, like your higher incarnations. You will have corridors opening so that you might know of some of your highest incarnations that are of galactic origins. Why is this important? Because as you open these corridors, essences from these higher incarnate beings, that is you, these are your incarnations, will begin to fuel this light turning on inside in such a magnificent way, further opening more and more corridors that previously have been unknown because they have been shut down by the densities of your living. As you begin to feel more connected to all that surrounds you and this light within, you begin to operate out of unity consciousness, eventually understanding and having an experience of the oneness of everything. This is where your human race is headed. And as you do this, as you open corridors, as you open what I call the soul sensory modalities, Chris, which is things like remote viewing, levitation, telepathy, bilocation, you will begin to open more. What do those things give you? Non-separation, for you will be telepathic with others. Bilocation, for you will be traveling to other space times. Remote viewing, so you know, even though you are in one place, you can remote view many other places, including perhaps a planet that was your galactic home at some other time. And so all of these things bring non-separation. And as your light continues to rise up, you will have more and more remembrances of what your soul mission is in this life, that you are one of the awakened ones to bring what? The new co-creative, new realities to earth, the new realities of science and sound and music and art that will begin to further awaken this beautiful, magnificent light field. And as Marilyn said, when the human race, everybody gathers giving the gift of their light field and it begins to move into unity consciousness, there is a light grid that will be formed across the planet, that all humans will be connected and yet revered for their individual gifts. It is like this, Chris. There is a miracle mantle surrounding Earth. It is in the fifth dimension. As you begin to rise up in vibration, as you begin to expel the light that comes from your inner domain, you will begin to connect more and more with the miracle mantle. And that is where everything that ails the earth, all solutions will come from this miracle mantle that will totally heal not just your planet, but each other. Now, I want to say something with you, Chris, because I know you are a beautiful musician. And I want to say to you that you have a very big corridor connected to the galactics. Now, what does this mean? You have a sound corridor that is connected to the galactics. A sound frequency that you may not hear through your physical ears comes through you and moves you a lot to produce the sounding that you produce on the planet. You are an example of someone who is already bringing in the new realities of music and sound. For what you bring in, we have already heard, and it brings in harmonious vibrations for the human being. It brings in the vibration that can lift, not only stimulate the light frequencies within a human, but can raise the frequencies up. And therefore, when humans listen to your music, they will be raised up. The doors to all the corridors that have normally been shut will begin to open. And in doing so, what you give people is the gifts that lie beyond those doors. And music does this, and it will be used more and more with humans. But you also have within you, you have, by the way, a grand incarnation in one of the ancient civilizations where you are a grand master of sound and actually knew how to levitate the heavy materials that made many of the ancient monuments. This is just one thing. Those essences from that light, those light codes that know how to use sound to elevate, now you are here to elevate the human heart and the human soul, which I might say, it's not an easy process. You might think stone in the monuments are hard to elevate, but let me tell you, when you take a look at the heavy hearts and the dampened souls, they are not easy to elevate either. But you, in this life, what is grand is there is this beautiful essence from this life on earth in an ancient culture where you are a sound technician and this galactic life. And when you have these two things coming into a human at once, it means your gifts of sound are so highly activated, and the music you produce is going to help this great awakening on planet Earth. And so I say this to you. It is so great to meet you, Chris. We hear your music. We even hear it at night when you haven't even played it yet on instruments and so forth, because it just kind of oozes out of you. This is what many of you who are listening to this, you are all awakening to these higher vibrational gifts that you are bringing to earth to create what? The new realities That will bring the building of the 12th bridge. And the 12th bridge is where you will walk across the bridge with your lighted vibrations into the new civilization of humans. And all of the past advanced civilizations eventually dissolved or even disappeared. This 12th bridge will lead you to build a civilization that will be now and forever on earth without dissolving, moving into the fifth dimension. You will be there for quite some time as a human race. And in that glory, you will join the galactic family. And oh, that will be quite a celebration. Beautiful, Chris. I have a feeling that at such a celebration, there will be remnants of your music there.
I have a feeling too, ZaZar. Wow. Well, I really appreciate everything you shared there. I'm gonna have to probably take a more time after this podcast to digest all of that, but I really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing that. It gave me a lot of almost memories or something coming back to when I was younger and how music was always just flowing out of me as almost like a language. And I have a question for you, which is, you were talking about the 12th bridge. Does that have anything to do with our 12 strands of DNA, perhaps? What's going to happen to us physically when we ascend?
Well, you're going to have quite a few strands of DNA. As you know, some of your DNA has lain dormant. Scientists say it's nothing, but of course now people are realizing that dormant DNA is coming to life. Chris, it is like your music. There are some also creating art and this is happening now on Earth as someone looks at the piece of art, hears the music, it actually turns on these DNA strands. There will be more than even 12, but the 12th will be the anchor for this new human civilization. So you're right about the 12 strands, but they are all awakening. And as the strands awakening, they carry codes to awaken the various gifts. Yours are so awakened, but this music, this art, this aroma, this nature, all of these things you have will be the alchemic energetics by which people in a moment's notice, through the hearing, the tasting, the touching, the smelling, will create this heightened vibrational light that will not only, of course, awaken more and more humans, but you'll start becoming, because of this inner guidance, the co-creators. Instead of you being created by all that surrounds you, which is what's happening now, people are looking at the news and everything else and reacting to that. You will truly become the co-creators, and you will know, as you do, the things to create that will help other humans not only heal, but become totally aligned and harmonious with their super consciousness and their most incredible heart.
I love that. Thank you, Cesar. And, to that point, where we're moving right now with our species, for those that are having more of a hard time, let's say, with the chaos currently happening, and there's a lot of distraction, there's a lot of emotions happening. And for our wonderful audience who's watching and tuning into this, what are some practical things that we can, as humans, be doing for one another and, of course, for ourselves to make this ascension as smooth as possible and also just to help us through the current craziness?
Well, first of all, know that it is crazy, right? There is no way for this ascension to happen without it being crazy. Even the most lighted ones have these weavings where they go back into the lower energies, and it's very hard. Wake up every morning, take 10 breaths into your light field, and breathe the light field out. Center yourself every morning and every night before you go to bed. Limit the incoming traffic from the outside world. If you are paying too much attention to the news, to your phones, biggest addictions on earth right now is the electronics and the pills, the medication. All of this stuff is so addictive. And so begin to understand you have the power within. But if you are paying attention to the without, you cannot be paying attention to fostering that which is within. Spend time during the day on not just meditation, but going within to those deep places, perhaps things that you wanted to do as a child, like draw or music or mathematics, and move back into those gifts that made themselves apparent as a child, but that were put to rest because of family or school or whatever. Listen to those wisps within you. Get out in nature as much as you can. Earth's nature is already a step beyond the human ascension. So when you walk in nature, it is like taking the best cosmic diet you could possibly take and breathe it in, because the nature knows, the woods know, the desert knows, the ocean knows. It can feel your vibrations, and it will feed you and see and feel the disalignments. You may not know this is going on, but your earth is incredible. Even though you have damaged her, she is constantly feeding you with the most beautiful light. To what? To stimulate that same truth within yourself. Light is light. Earth has light. You have light. Walk in nature. Also at night, look up at the stars and realize there is so much life up there. If you're going to pay attention to all that is going on earth, all the toxicities, all the harshness that is going on, if that is your diet, it will begin to wear, of course, on your body, mind, heart. So I say, limit how much time you are on your electronics, because this is a time for you to realize you are the ones, and you have to get up every day and say, I am the one. I may not know why, I may not know what it is I have to contribute, but I am the one. Because if you look out there, you can say to yourself, it doesn't look like anybody else out there is the ones. So I must begin to take responsibility for what? For my own vibrational state. What do I feed my heart every day? What do I feed my mind every day? You notice everybody is scanning so fast. Everybody is scanning so fast. Your ability to attend is like 40 seconds at a time. That's it. Begin to do things that don't require the scanning behaviors, because scanning does something to your brain that makes it in survival mode. So begin to slow down. Begin to learn how to use the breath to call attention to that which is inside of you. And if you run into densities that is within you, don't be fooled by them, because underneath that is the most amazing light field you can even imagine. And you won't see it out there, but you can learn to feel it within. You see, Chris, when I am here and I am working with people, I do not see their densities. Because when you start to look at densities, you can start to entrain with them, which is what happens when people see the news. I only see your lighted ways. So when I talk with you, I am simply a mere reflecting that which I see right back to you. So find humans who can reflect the truth of your beauty, of your gifts, who want to hear about them. Be with humans who begin to feel like they are on the path to their own lightness of being. So I say to you, get up and breathe the light. Ask for where you go at night to be in these higher realities. Walk in nature, see your cosmic diet, and find humans who can keep the soul heart complex company.
I love that. Yes, community is so important right now more than ever, probably.
Community is so important. By the way, when we do retreats and events, we have an incredible unity community. The biggest thing on earth is for humans to realize how powerful they are when they gather in community. I could go on for an hour about this, but you said it. Community is more important now than ever before. And in this community, humans will realize the power of consciousness in unified form will change the earth.
100% ZaZar. And, I'm curious about that quickly before we wrap things up is when we come together, we've even the humans here on this planet, we've done some studies to show when we meditate together, as an example, crime rates can statistically drop, just as one of many examples. So as we come together in unity, maybe you could leave us with a bit of a picture of what we have to look forward to moving through these crazy times, which I acknowledge is a part of the process, of course.
So when you come together in unity community, it is not that you will be able to, because of the light that you bring each other, reduce the densities. But when you come together, you will begin to realize for the first time that you don't have to come together in separation dynamics. Rather, you can see each other as light givers, experiencing safety, community, love like you've never experienced before, and begin to realize the power that you can create together and the rest that you can have to rest. You can finally be together and rest. Creates an harmonious field of heart consciousness that has never before been on earth. And you can do this in your small communities. And as you do this, the communities will start connecting in the ethers with other communities that are doing this work. And you have to look forward, an entire human race who is connected with the gifts of higher love, peace, joy, and harmony like never before. And you will know that you will seek these communities not only to feel the higher vibration, but they will help you discover, by simply being there with them, the gifts your soul has brought to earth for this time in the Great Awakening.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Cesar, for sharing your wisdom. This is an absolute honor, and I'm so grateful we had this time together today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Mila. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It was
Wow.
exciting to be with you.
I felt that, and I'm honored. And many of the things Cesar said, of course, were fascinating. I'm going to have to digest this, Marilyn, after this podcast. But I appreciate that. It's funny, I had a lot of flashbacks to my childhood as he was talking. Music was something I didn't ever think about pursuing as a profession or anything. It was something I used as therapy. As a 6-year-old coming back, I never had a good time at school. School was very challenging for me. And so I'd come home very depressed or just upset. And then I'd just sit at the piano for an hour and cathart and just, have all the emotions and everything flow through that instrument. So I've been using it as a tool of healing my whole life. And I know that the galactics and the ancients, for that matter, as we talked about, fully understood this whole aspect of sound. I'd love to ask you, as we're wrapping up our episode here, just quickly, what do you see for this new earth with regards to this technology of sound and things like that coming, I guess, back into our awareness?
Well, look, sound is an incredible vibration. I know that when Source breathed us into creation, it was through sound. And so I believe that as we learn to use sound, it will heal our bodies, our hearts, calm the mind, bring us to a stillness point in order for us to finally be united, soul, heart, mind, body. I think, Chris, you said something. You said school was hard and you came home and played the piano. One thing I've learned from ZaZar is sometimes things are hard because they are directing us to what is easy. And so you got directed to being a natural musician, a natural sounder, as ZaZar would call you, because school was hard. And so you moved in, and luckily this was such a big gift in you. You moved into music right away as an ointment for what was hard. But really, it was creating this gift of yours at 6 years old. So I think many, many people are going to go into the sound technologies. And when we learn how to use sound chambers, musical instruments will become healing tools. They already are. We're learning more and more about that. I think that's going to be one of the biggest new realities. I also think art is going to be, I think I know some artists now who create art, and the minute I look at the art, my frequency goes up an octave just looking at the art. So I think we're going to have all of these new realities come to be in this year of 2026, right this year. And I can't wait to be with you physically, to hear your music in person, Chris.
Thank you, Marilyn. And we will get some chances. We got some fun events coming up this year. And I guess on that note, we should let our audience know, what are you up to this year? Where can people connect with you as well?
Well, you can go to the website, theshift.rocks, and see what we're up to. We are going to the LA Expo, Conscious Life Expo in February. And then we're going to Sedona right after that for an incredible retreat with ZaZar. Then we're going to the Living Expo in San Rafael with Portal to Ascension. We're excited about that in April. We're doing a great weekend event after that with ZaZar in Sacramento. Look at our website, come join us. One thing I'm really excited about is we're working with Stargate, and we've been working with them this year, traveling the globe. We're going to Newgrange, Ireland. At Newgrange, it's one of the ancient advanced civilizations that ZaZar talks about, where the light codes are exploding. We're going there for a big retreat with Stargate, and we're going to go to the site of Newgrange where the ancient stones are and actually do some work with the light codes. I'm really excited about that. That's in May. Then we're again working with Stargate, going to Costa Rica in August, Slovenia in September. And in the meantime, we have a big summer retreat here in the Northeast near the sanctuary where we are. It's a beautiful area. We're having a 4-day retreat this summer in the end of June. But if you can't make it physically to the in-person things, we do a lot of Zoom work with ZaZar. We have Wednesday nights conversations with ZaZar. They are so fun to be at, Chris, because you can ask ZaZar any questions you want. And usually we're online for like 3 hours with him. And then there's a master class. And there is a master class coming up on February 8th. If you want to join, boy, you will learn such incredible things. So those are a few things that we're doing so far this year.
I love that. And I mean, I'll just give a testimonial to our audience here. Speaking with ZaZar, this is my first experience, and it's lit me up like a Christmas tree. And talking to, of course, Marilyn, you know, beautiful human soul with the wonderful omnidimensional being. It's just been such an absolute joy. And I think people would have an incredible experience. I know they would have an incredible experience coming to, whether it's the Zoom or these in-person retreats, which really tickles my fancy, especially this one in Ireland is really fascinating. Will you be incorporating like sound? Are you guys going to do any kind of activations there?
Well, you know, ZaZar has just started talking to me about taking some sound instruments there. I have
Right.
to be into sound and music myself, and so it's become more important as he's been telling me more about the healing modalities of sound. So he's just started to talk to me about, why don't we take some of these instruments? So I'm hoping that we can, and we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, that's really interesting because when I was looking into, there's been fascinating research at Stonehenge, and also at Newgrange, where they've done acoustic, experiments, and people have had profound, almost psychedelic experiences when the sound gets incorporated into these places,
It's
right? Yeah, that's going to be really powerful. I'm really excited for you.
yeah, I think sound. I think I think we're hearing sounds a lot, but we don't hear them with our physical. I think sound is coming in from the galaxy. People in near-death experiences hear the symphonies that are there in the universe. They're able to hear them because they're out of body. I think sound is going to open up places in our mind field and in our heart fields that no psychedelic drug will ever open up. I think that's how powerful these vibrations are
Oh yeah.
in terms of sound. Yeah.
I just had some friends over 2 nights ago. We were about five of us just playing a bunch of instruments, singing along, having a great time. Zero psychedelics involved, and we all, after half an hour of that, we were high as a kite, and felt like we had done about maybe 15 grams of mushrooms or something. I mean, it really is. It's the combination of sound, but also I think what's coming in with your events as well is it's the people that are attracted to these events, and when you bring these beautiful, wonderful souls together, mixed in with the music, beautiful locations, magic occurs.
I want to tell you this, Chris. I don't know how to really play the piano, but I have a synthesizer, and I started playing it in contact nights. And this galactic being from ZaZar's ship, as strange as it sounds, started coming through me, taking over the keys. Now, listen to this. I know what the sounds sound like in the various settings, but when they come through, there are extra sounds. People on my team have heard this. People in contact night have heard it. There are water beings that come through that aren't programmed into the synthesizer. It is the most amazing. So now, and this music sounds wild. It's never going to be.
I want to hear.
Yeah. But people are so moved by it by the end of the time of playing. All these different wild things are coming in, and people are so affected. It shocks me because at times it doesn't sound like normal music, but it reaches some place inside that hasn't before been reached. And I think part of it, because it is galactically inspired, is it reaches that part of us that has always been connected to our galactic star families, and it opens that up. And I think the same is true with instruments that open the ancient ones up that have been on Earth. So it's exciting.
Oh, it's so exciting. This is such a fun conversation, Marilyn. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your time, your energy, your wisdom, and for bringing ZaZar to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris, for being who you are and the work you're doing.
I appreciate that, Marilyn. We'll have to have you back, but until next time, thanks so much for being on the show.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll see you around. So everybody, what an incredible episode. As always, here on Ancient Mysteries Unearthed. I gotta go process some things, I'll be honest. That was beautiful. That was really great, because I'm gonna be working on some music stuff later today. So I want to take all that energy into what I'll be doing later. As always, just a couple of, not even housekeeping, I guess, just some reminders for you beautiful folks watching and listening. As we were talking about today, these places that Marilyn goes to, there's really special energies. Well, I'll be taking you folks, whoever wants to join, in September of this year, 2026, to Egypt for our Awakening Egypt tour. Well, we will be incorporating some sound and music as well into the tour, and wherever possible. Egypt is, strict with these things, but we also know all of the little fun ways to work around these things. So if you want to join us on an unforgettable, life-changing experience, check out the links below. As always, too, if you want to check into any of Marilyn's work, you got to check the links below as well for all that. And then, of course, our sponsor, which is the Therapeutic Music Library, so appropriately discussed in our episode today, The Power of Sound and Music. Well, there's now a library that I've created for practitioners, therapists, and other people that need to use it professionally in their day-to-day practices with other people that they're helping. Now there's a library that can help you with doing all that, commercial-free, licensing-free, all that good stuff. So check out the link below if any of that resonates with you. Otherwise, just thank you so much for being you. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we will catch you on the next episode of Ancient Mysteries Unearthed. Until next time.